Welcome back to Round Recap, where we recap the latest round of Rugby League. We got a pretty decently sized, a pretty decent calendar here today. We got a lot to go through. We got a lot to look at. Okay, we got a pretty good weekend for Rugby League. If you're a fan of winning teams, then this is the video for you. Okay, we're kicking it off with the Rabbitohs versus the Penrith Panthers game. Okay, yep. If you're a fan of the channel, you're probably seen the emergency video that I put out straight after the game. Okay, straight after the game. I just had to get on and I had to just put that raw emotion out there. I couldn't just wait for this moment. I couldn't wait for round recap. I had to come then. Because, you know, you miss a lot of the intensity. So, but, you know, we're here now, we're around recap, and some would say we may not have the most to talk about it because I've already done a 4-minute video. But it's not going to stop me, alright? We're going to do a deep dive here on this game. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty. The South Sydney Rabbitohs blew me away, okay? My boys blew me away. I had no inkling in my mind that they were going to go out there and they were going to put 28 points, 28 beautifully unanswered points on Penrith Panthers in that first half. I did not see that coming, okay? Did I have a bit of faith in the boys? Yeah, okay. I put the jersey on. I sat down. I had a nice cold beer in my hand and I watched the game and I thought, oh, you know, all you can do is hope. But hope was not needed. Because we got out there, son. We got active. We got active against the 4-time premiers. Man, what just a performance. From the smaller guys to the bigger names, everyone played their part and played their part well. Alright? Yeah, we took our foot off the pedal a little bit in the second half, but, you know, thanks to just having a bit of grit, having a bit of toughness, thanks to Ashley Klein, you know, we stuck through it, and we got through, and we survived the Penrith onslaught. And, you know, obviously the few things I addressed in the emergency video, a lot of people coming out saying, you know, the narrative is that, oh, well, Penrith were missing Cleary, and we were missing Edwards, and we don't have Luai anymore, we don't have Fisher Harris, you know, but you had Isaiah, you know, New South Wales skipper, okay? Don't quote me on that. I'm fairly certain, though. I mean, the guys that skip it through and through. Liam Martin. Mitch Kenny. You know, you still had the big names out there. Maybe not the biggest. But you still had the big names. You had Brian Toto. You still had 4-time premiership winners out there. Okay? South Sydney. You're preaching the choir when you say you've got injuries because South Sydney, Latrell, Graham, Euron Aiken, AJ injured himself in the first half. Cameron Murray, you know, like all the... Don't even talk to me. Don't even talk to me about injuries, all right? Because we had them, all right? But, no, this was a really, really just... It's so good to finally see the boys get one done against Penrith because it's been so long since I sat there and I watched a full Rabbitohs-Penrith game and seen the boys come out on top. And it was just such a breath of fresh air, man. I do feel a little bit bad for Penrith Panthers. Oh my God, Penrith Panthers because you know, 4-time premiership winners. You know, it feels almost wrong to see them lose 3 in a row, but it's rugby league, and it might be a little bit of a passing of the torch. Who knows? They should definitely get up in this week's game, but we'll get into that when we do our picks at the end of the video. So yeah, I mean, if you want to see some raw live reaction of this exact game, go check out my emergency video I posted earlier in the week, or last week rather. And that'll give a bit more of a just raw reaction to the game. But 28-18, it was the boys really blew me away. Jamie Humphries went out there and did what he had to do. They both look alike. You know, Jamie Humphries went out there and did what he had to do. You know, Walker was on one. Walker was playing really well. Both halves partners were playing well. The boys were doing what they needed to do. Complete the tackle sets and get the kick. that is just what I really wanted to see from the boys, and that's what they did. So, Jai Gray out there, and man, he is never failing to disappoint. Shortest man in the NRL right now, I think, and he's out there just leading the Dally M in points. So that's something big, a little short guy, and he's out there and he's just taking the high balls and he's running the ball and he's getting tries. So shout out to Jai Gray, he did well. Just everyone from the South did well, man. I don't think there was a bad player out there. Maybe Jaden Sullivan. He had 4 errors or something, so it is what it is. But yeah, no, great game. Electric game. Keon Kalamatangi, almost forget to mention, he might be up there, man of the match. He had a few errors at the end there. I don't know, I'd probably have to give Jai Gray man of the match because he just had a never say die attitude and being that small man and just getting in there and getting the job done week to week. So, yeah, great game. Obviously, I was going to sit and dwell on this one for a little bit because this was just completely unexpected. I counted the boys out, I'll admit. So, up next, Roosters Titans, 30-12. Titans get it done in a big way at Allianz Stadium. Yeah, this was... once again, I fail again. The Roosters lead me astray again. If you remember last week's picks, I picked the Roosters to win this game. I didn't think they could lose 2 in a row, and they did, and they have. And, is it a case where the Roosters are really bad, or is it a case where the Titans are just getting better? They're doing better. Because, Roosters lost a lot of people, but they also still have a lot of people, which is why I put my pick in going the way of the Roosters in the first place. But yeah, no, the Titans come into Sydney and they get it done. They get it done in a big way, 30-12. 30-12. It's a pretty big scoreline. There's a few unanswered points there from the Roosters. Just the Roosters' defence just doesn't seem to be at the standard it needs to be at. There was intercepts there, and just that last try that Brimo scored was just a little bit sloppy. It was just Roosters, not much coordination going on, and it wasn't even an intercept. It was just a fumble of the ball. AJ picks it up, off he goes, scores. So, yeah, Titans, man, get it done in a big way, and I'd love to see the Titans keep winning because it keeps the comp fresh when you see these teams who don't typically win getting wins. So I'd love to see the Titans go on and win a few more and, maybe sit around a top 8. It's not too much to ask for from the boys from the Gold Coast. So I will just quickly mention the fact that the video of them in the sheds singing the song is one of the most cringe moments I've seen from the week. I seen a really funny meme though. It was sort of like, the Titans are barely used to winning games that they don't get time to sing their song, that they've never really sang their song. So that was pretty funny. Shout out to that person who made that meme. But no, that was pretty awkward. It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch them trying to sing a song. And they're all holding up pieces of paper, and some of them are like really getting into it, and others are like, oh yeah. But yeah. Shout out to the Titans, man. I really hope that they can string a few wins together and make it a little bit more entertaining this season. Up next, Dolphins Broncos. This was an interesting game. I don't have too much to say on it. It's a bit meh. It wasn't like the best rugby league in the world. It was just pouring rain, and wet games are never going to be the most exciting because you don't get them thriller moments on the wing. A lot of the times it's just big forwards pushing it under the posts and tries like that of the sort, but it was a wet game. It was a torrential game. At points there, the rain was just so thick, you could barely see some of the players. Broncos get it done, obviously, 20-12. Dolphins, neither team looked like they really wanted to just lash out and grab it. The Broncos seemed a little bit reserved for, as I always mention every week, how star-studded the side is. They just seem a little reserved, but it's nothing to fault from the Dolphins side. I will just come out and mention Tom Gilbert from the Dolphins, Jordan Ricky from the Broncos, both on suspension, I believe. I don't have a great source from that. I just know that they're suspended in my fantasy league. So thanks, boys, really helping me out there. yeah, good game. It was good to see Stags come back and get a try. Yeah, not much else to say. Didn't really cash out on a multi I had on this one, so I was never really all that invested. But good little Brisbane derby, the Brisbane Bowl. A lot of people were calling it. Yeah, just another meh game. It's a bit of a cycle this week that a lot of the games were just a bit meh. Like they were there, but they were sort of just lacking a bit of oomph. They were lacking that bite down in the mouthpiece sort of game. So. Next up, Dragons Storm at Jubilee Stadium. Another wet one. Wasn't as bad as the Brisbane Bowl, but it was wet. It was drizzling. Storm, obviously, come out on the wrong side of this one. Gutho and the boys at the Dragons get it done. In a big way, 14-8. Well, obviously, not a big scoreline, but big win for the Dragons. Big win for the Dragons. These are the games that the Dragons win. These are the games that the Dragons win. They will beat the Storm on a random round 4 game at Jubilee Stadium, and it'll fly under the radar for the rest of the season. Okay? That one time they beat Storm. It was a hard game to watch, I'll admit. I sat down and I was watching it, but a lot of the time I was on my phone or, I was in the middle of conversations with people. It wasn't the most entertaining of games. There was a lot of good... There was good defensive showcase from both sides, but it wasn't really standout rugby league. It wasn't hold your breath tries. It was just a grudge match. It was a nitty gritty duke 'em out between these two teams, and the Dragons, a little bit accustomed to Jubilee Stadium, got out there and got it done. So in front of the home crowd. So, congratulations to the Dragons. Storm, on the other hand, I think this will be a one-off thing for the Storm. I don't think we're going to be seeing too many of these games where the Storm are struggling to beat these smaller sides, Yeah, they were missing Jerome Hughes as well, which was probably a big factor as well in their offense. So, yeah, I think we'll have to see who Storm have got this week, but... Yeah, this was a good win for the Dragons, but I don't see the Storm opening up too much throughout the season. So yeah. Next one was a decent game of rugby league. Cowboys Raiders. Cowboys Canberra. The Raiders came up to North Queensland and got sent home. Got sent home with an L. The Cowboys really turned it on. They showed that they wanted this. And they played good rugby league. Once again, another one of these games where I was sort of sitting there like, 30-20, it's a good scoreline. There's a bit of back and forth there. Probably one of the more entertaining games of the round. Jakey Cliffs with 2 big tries. That was a bit of a standout for me. Seeing him, I think that was his second game of the year, playing the number 7, and... putting on 2 tries, good to see. It's just good to see the Cows get a win. Get out of that undefeated, that 0-win rut. They were just sort of losing. So it's good to have them in there, in the win column. Because they're not, in my opinion, they're not going to get too many. Just from how they performed at the start of the season. I think their wins will come few and far between. They're going to have to really fight for wins. So this was a good one, especially over the Canberra Raiders, who I've been saying that look good, and I'm so far being proved wrong with 2 back-to-back losses. So, yeah. Next up, Cronulla versus Bulldogs. And now last week I said we'd be coming back to this very game and we'd be doing a deep dive and we'd be going, we'd be crossing the dots, and we'd be sorting out the P's and Q's on this one. We'd really be doing a deep dive on the Cronulla Sharks versus Canterbury Bulldogs game. Has it lived up to that? I don't think so. I thought it'd be a closer game, for one. I thought the scoreline would be a little bit... I thought it'd be a low scoreline. I thought it'd be a small scoreline, but I didn't think it'd be like 20-6. I thought it might be like... I thought it'd be like a field goal game or a try game, but this was a bit of a blowout from the doggies. The Dogs got out there, and I just winning at Shark Park, beating the Sharks at Shark Park, and looking good, undefeated still, on the trot still, and man, if you're a Doggies fan, congratulations, because you've got yourself a side this year, in my opinion. They did all this without Burton and without Kickout, so that's a big win for the Doggies, having injuries and still going out there and getting the dub. Still going out there and getting it done against a prominent side in Cronulla who had a close game with Penrith in Vegas. They beat South Sydney and they for the most part were undefeated. The only game they lost was in Vegas. They came over here and they went on a bit of a winning streak and then ran into the Doggies. So I tipped Cronulla. I thought Cronulla would have had this one, but the Dogs get it done. On to the next one. Manly Sea Eagles versus Parramatta Eels at 4 Pines Park. Another one of these games where it was like, I did say this last week in my picks. I just said that this would be a bit of a poopy game. It'd be a little bit stinky, just because it's always a good game. Manly Sea Eagles and Parramatta is always a good game. They always go out there and play well. But I just think this year with Parramatta, the state that the club's in, Dylan Brown, where he's at, it just wasn't going to live up to it. So, and it didn't. It was 26-12. I honestly thought Manly would put more points on the Eels, but and just it's a mad game. It's another mad game. It's another one of these just kind of disappointing games of rugby league. On to the final game of the weekend, which, before we even do a deep dive and figure out, what's what, I will just come out and say that this Warriors versus West Tigers game will be getting game of the round. I know South Sydney beating Penrith. We might go back through and have a look at both games, but I do think this was just a good, honest game of rugby league. I love a close game of rugby league, especially when my team's not in it. West Tigers versus the Warriors. The Warriors, this is a really good win to get, especially in Campbelltown. Sort of not a great place to be playing on a Sunday afternoon, last game of the round, but they get in there and they just fought like hell to get this win. And so for that, they deserve. Warriors looking like kind of the Titans in that respect, that they're looking a little bit hard to stop. They're looking a bit hard to beat. And I think the first team who gets out there and beats them, there'll be a big narrative shift, because they'll probably get beaten they'll probably get bashed. But anyway, West Tigers, congratulations. You're going back to where you started. I don't know. No, that was a bad attempt at a joke. Jerome Luai looks like he could be out for multiple games, which isn't looking good for the boys. Do I believe the Tigers have still be able to hang in there without Luai there? Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Luai was definitely, if he wasn't doing the most on the field, he was doing a lot for the boys. He brought that 4-time premiership mentality to the Tigers, and it was probably lifting everyone else up around him. So, yeah, shoulder injury. I'm hearing some vicious sources saying a season, which I think is outlandish. But, I don't know. I truly, I don't know. I really hope that isn't true, because it's been really cool to see the Tigers come out and have a good start to the year and look like being in good form. And I think a lot of that is accredited to Jerome Luai. So it really hurt. It hurt the whole team to lose the $6 million man. But, cannot take away from the Warriors. That's heart, that's grit, and that's toughness to go out there and pull that game back, because I tuned in. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the whole game live. I actually had to come back and watch a lot of parts of it. But, I sort of tuned in at one point and the scoreline was, I was like, well, there goes that one. But shout out to the Warriors for bringing this one back, because, yeah, as I said, hard game to win, Sunday afternoon, last game of the round at Campbelltown, and they got out there and got it done. Thoughts and prayers to Jerome Luai, though. I really hope he's not out for a season, and I hope he's not out for too long, because, no one wants to see the Tigers playing another spoon bowl, man. No one wants to see him playing another spoon bowl. And, of course, Knights had the bye. So that is the full recap. That's the full round recap. Into the nitty gritty of it all. I think I probably will give the game of the round to West Tigers vs Warriors. Just a gritty game of rugby league. I like a good final game of the round Sunday, and tough, hard-fought win for the Warriors, and it made for good, entertaining football. So, congratulations, West Tigers. Congratulations, Warriors. You have gained yourself game of the round for round 4. Player of the round. This is an interesting one. I will say, Jaden Campbell had another standout for the Titans. I know I said that last week, but he did stand out. Obviously, Jai Gray was my man of the match for the Rabbitohs-Penrith game, so he's going to be in the running. For Bronx Dolphins, that's a harder one. I'll admit that is a harder one. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. Gutho for the Dragons, setting up tries, looking like a bat out of hell. Cows, Jakey Cliff, Sharkies, Doggies. Got to be honest, I didn't really pay all that much attention to this game. After I saw the way it was going, didn't pay too much attention to this one, and look, I don't know. This one was a hard game of footy. So it's kind of hard to pick. It's kind of hard to pick someone who really stood out for either of those teams. We'll do a quick look see what we can see. Unpaid advertisement. What do we got here? Do we get to see a man of the match nominated in here? Metcalf in again. Lukey Metcalf, maybe. Lukey Metcalf. This is just a really slug 'em out kind of game. So it's hard to pick someone who stands out of that. It is hard to pick someone who stands out of that. Brimo actually had a really good one from Titans, just to break the monotony of me saying Jaden Campbell every week, because I don't watch Titans games. This is a tricky one for me. Real tricky one. I almost want to give it to someone from the Doggies. Just because they really surprised me there. I did not think they'd be able to do that. I didn't think they'd be able to get a win. Ooh. Crichton. Always hard to count Crichton out, getting a try, kicking all the conversions that he needs to. Yeah, look. I'm going to have to... Ooh, there's part of me that wants to say Jakey Cliffs. Part of me does want to also say, and this is going to be team bias. Okay, this is going to be team bias. But I'm going to say Jai Gray. For the simple fact, 28-18, you're playing fullback against the 4-time premiership winners. You win the game. You set a pace too. Little guy out there, he's catching the balls he needs to catch. He scores himself a try, making the big takes, and he went out there and he played for 80 minutes. Okay, that's dog mentality. Okay, so this week's Fighting Field Insights Player of the Round goes to Jai Gray. I don't want to hear team bias. All right, I don't want to hear team bias because I truly think he deserves it. All right. Maybe I need to make a deep dive into the players who really stand out. But I did like Jai Gray, okay? But, you know, if it helps you sleep at night, we're looking at a Jay Clifford or something like that, you know? Maybe an AJ Brimson. But other than that, you beauty. Oh, Shibasaki too. I want to shout out Shibasaki. He had a really good game of rugby league. Yeah. Terrell May as well. He played well. They're all, you know, guys who stand out, but I think Jai Gray, you know, being that small, you just being a little guy and getting out there and getting it done. But we'll quickly delve in to next week's picks. This segment of round recap, we go into next week's round and we pick our game winners. This is going to be a brief overview. I wouldn't take any of this to heart. I'm thinking about making a new segment in and of its own where we do a deep dive on these and we really look into who's going to win these games. We look at weather, we look at team lists, we just go head first into the fray and we make sure that we've picked the right team and I'm steering you guys in the right direction to either get up in your tipping comp or put some good multis on. So, Canberra Raiders versus Cronulla Sharks. It's at home at Geo Stadium. I'd like to think that the Canberra Raiders can pull something up. I'd like to think that they can have a win here, because 3 losses on the trot's a bit, you know, tough pill to swallow. But I can never count out the Cronulla Sharks. It's a big game. It's going to be a big defensive game. It's going to be a close scoreline. Cronulla, in my opinion, do have the better attacking side. We've seen Raiders' defence shut people down, though, similar to the Broncos game. So I am going to back Raiders here again. This could be foolish of me. They're the underdog. But I'm taking the Canberra Raiders here. Give me plus 12 scoreline. We might be looking at like a, you know, maybe like a 28-12, maybe a 28-16 or something. A real close scoreline. But yeah, minus 12. I don't think 12 or under. I don't think it'll be a big try scoring game. Into Penrith versus Cowboys in the Friday night game. I'm going to pick Penrith. Just quickly diving into this one. I don't think Cowboys are going to get a win here. Yeah, you know, they had a win last week against Canberra. It's a different story though. You know, especially if Cleary's back, especially if Edwards back. I don't know where we're at with Edwards' recovery, but Cleary's back. It's a complete different game. So I'm going to back Penrith. Again, looking at a bigger scoreline here, 13 plus. I don't think it'll be a huge dominant win by Penrith by any means, but you know, I think it'll be, you know, around the 30 points to 6, 30 points to 12. Cowboys might even be able to cut a little closer, but that Penrith defense is pretty good. So, yeah, I'd look for 13 plus Penrith Panthers, around that 36 to 12, something like that. South Sydney versus Roosters. This is going to be a really good game at a core stadium, standing on sacred grounds. The Derby. Always love a Roosters Rabbitohs game. Always lots to look forward to. Latrell Mitchell's back. It's going to be a good game. I hear he's playing in the centres, so that's different. I'm glad they're going to keep Jai Gray out there at fullback because, quite frankly, he deserves it. If you're leading the Dally M points, you should stay out there and you should play fullback. So, yeah, Roosters versus Rabbitohs. I'm got to back my boys. I didn't do it last week, and for the first time all season, it's taken 5 rounds. We are the betting favourite. So, give me South Sydney. Give me South Sydney. Under 12 points. I don't think this is going to be a dominant win from Souths. I think we're only still just going to get out there and just sort of tuck our chins over the line because the Roosters, you know, they do somewhat have that dog in them. They do, as I said last week when we were picking the Roosters game, it just feels like a lose-lose when I bet against the Roosters or if I bet for the Roosters. If I bet for them, they're going to lose. If I bet against them, they're going to win. So I really hope they don't win. And if it means I've got to pick the Roosters right now for the Rabbitohs to win, then I'll do it. So I'm going to pick the Roosters to beat the Rabbitohs. Under 12 points. I think it'll be quite a close game. maybe a 24-20, something like that. Pretty close game. So give me the Roosters to win. Parramatta Eels versus Dragons. I don't particularly care. I think the Eels are going to win this one. I think Eels are going to get their first win of the season against Gutho in his new club. They can't keep losing. Give me the Eels under 12 points. Probably a really close one. I think both teams might put a few tries in just of how defensively poo-poo they are. So maybe like a 36-30 or something. I don't know. Big game feel, that one. Titans versus Dolphins. Queensland Derby. I'm going to take Titans just straight away. I think if Dolphins had a chance to get a win this season, they would have had it already. And the way the Titans have been looking, they're at Seabus. I think they're going to fire at Seabus. They did against the Knights, rather. I think they're going to fire at Seabus, and I think they're probably going to pump the Dolphins. The way Titans have been winning games is just so foot on the pedal, and they just suffocate you with output. So I'm going to go Titans to win this one, probably 13 plus. It's going to be a pretty big scoreline, 40-12 or something, 42-12. I don't know, big score, big numbers. Broncos West Tigers. Without Luai, I'm going to take the Broncos here. It's at Suncorp. They've got the home advantage. The West Tigers missing Jerome Luai. Don't think they're going to have the grit, the toughness to hold on and get a win against Broncos. I think the West Tigers are going to go 2 losses straight. So, and they're a huge underdog. That's wild. But anyway, give me the Broncos. 13. Almost jumped into a hole there by saying 13 plus. They never seem to dominate, but I think they will this one. Broncos 13 plus. Not a big 13 plus, just 13 plus. I think they'll crack the 30s, and the Tigers will follow close behind. I don't have a exact score for that one, but yeah, look for it to be a close 13 plus. Manly Sea Eagles versus Melbourne Storm. This is a really interesting one. Melbourne Storm and the underdogs are the betting favourites to win this. Manly Sea Eagles, though, if you're looking to get a bit of a payday, put your money on Manly Sea Eagles. Jerome Hughes still being out for Storm. I think that hinders them a little bit. They're playing at 4 Pines Park. Manly have got the hill in the background. So I'm going to take Manly Sea Eagles to win this one with a close to under 12 points. Maybe like another nitty-gritty game. I know I just said 10 minutes ago that Storm aren't going to lose these kinds of games, but Manly Sea Eagles, when they're a club, when they're on and they're firing, it's hard to stop them. So yeah, give me Manly Sea Eagles there to win that one. Maybe like a 26-20 or something like that. They'll just get it done against the Storm, I think. And then the Bulldogs versus the Knights, which is a pretty cool game. I think the Bulldogs have got it done. Knights just haven't really shown enough, and I think they still have players injured. KP cannot win games all by his lonesome. So, give me the Bulldogs here, 13 plus. I think they will really go out there and showcase a bit of Premiership football. I think they'll go out there and probably put on a bit of a show. Look for a couple double try scorers. I think it'll be a bit of a shutout. 13 plus, something like in the 40s to 20 or something. I don't know, because Newcastle do have a bit of dog in them. But the Bulldogs defense is a bit of a shutout, so I don't know. Maybe like 36-12 something. Another just sort of guesstimated scoreline there, but along the lines you get what I'm trying to say. So Warriors have got the bye, and that's it for my picks. That's it for my recap. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this breakdown on this week's round of rugby league. Hopefully you enjoyed my recap. I hope if you're going to take some of these picks to heart, that they get up for you. And have good's rugby league, and I will see you this time next week when we dive into another round of rugby league.